Testing. Testing. I'm kind of close, so I need my glasses. All right, there comes my screen. All right, so this is what I need you to do. We have already brought down the different pre-builds. So we now know how to install off of an ISO. We know how to install an operating system. And I encourage you to download Windows 10, Windows 7. It's under ISOs. You can grab those and you can install them yourselves if you would like. However, I have already made some pre-built images for us. All right? What I want to do today is I want to import those images, both of them. Once we've imported them, do not start them. All right? And we'll see why today. Do not start them because I want to make sure that we're doing things right. All right, so you're going to click on File. You're going to click on hell if I know. So let's do it this way. Let's come out to the SSD where we put them. We'll go into Windows 7 first. And once we're in Windows 7, do you see this right here? It says the little download Win7 Lab OVF. If you don't have the OVF, if you can't see that, click on View, click on File Name Extensions, right? You're just going to double click on that. This should automatically pop up and say, what do you want to call this? Well, I'm going to call this Win7 in real large base. I'm going to click on Import. And then it might say Import failed because of OVF specification. Don't worry about it. Just click on Retry and it'll be fine. All right? And then we're going to do the same thing. It's funny how you miss things like a back button on a mouse. Then you're going to do the same thing for Windows Server 2012 R2. R2 came out in 2015, so while it seems like this is an old operating system, it's very much alive, it's very much kicking. It was actually, this edition was released in like 2015. So you double click on that. You want to call this the same thing, Win 2012, and then you want to call it a base as well. And then click on Import, retry, and it's gonna take a while for both of them to import, so that's perfectly fine. Neighbors help neighbors. Neighbors help neighbors. If your import failed, we need to double check.
Yeah, this also happened in iTech 4.7 as well.
Yeah, so what we'll do is we'll come up and we'll double check and make sure this didn't change. That's right, that's you.
In 2012 failed? Or yours? Both. Well, I only tried the 7 first, but yesterday when we were uploading the stuff in 4.7, it was doing the exact same thing.
Let's call that Win 7 base. And then we'll click retry. Did you go through that last time?
Yeah, and then he said try exiting out and then trying to do it all over again. So if it doesn't work, then I'll
How long does it take before it fails?
Instantly, like as soon as I press it.
So that looks like that's good. Mm-hmm. So now we'll go back and you do it this time so I can pay attention to how you're doing it. Retry. There we go.
Okay,
Looks like
so,
we're gone.
Okay.
I don't know. Do you know what you did last time?
No, I did literally exactly how he said how to do it, and I still got the retry thing. So I don't know if it's...
Retry will always be there, right? So you just click retry. That image, for whatever reason, doesn't conform to the OVF specification, which is actually an XML file underneath of that. So there's something in there that it didn't like, but I've had this for a while and I know it works just fine.
Okay.
So you can always click on retry.
Nope.
Nope.
I was signed in wrong.
Nope,
So.
nope,
Okay.
you were fine. So it wasn't really an error, it was that.
Yeah.
You were fine. Yep. You're welcome. So remember, if it comes up and it says the OVF file specification has failed, you just click on retry. What that is that OVF, the specification, is a data file that's attached to it that's actually an XML file, and it just didn't like something about the formatting of that. Click on retry, and it imports it just fine. Okay? It'll import it just fine. Give you just another minute there, and we'll I want to start looking at the lab manual while we're waiting on this stuff to work. We'll talk about that a little bit, kind of do some things. You want the whole folder, because the folder contains metadata. Okay. You ready? What do you mean no? What's it doing? Well, no, don't worry about it. I don't care how long it takes. It might take a while. It might take a while. It takes a little while for them to import. All right? It takes a little while for them to import. All right. So one of the things that I want everybody to embrace, and you all haven't had me in a while to know my new thing here. I told you a little bit about I need you to communicate more, and that's why we're doing the little mini presentations. But I'm also wanting you to practice being professional and scholarly, all right? So I'm really going to hammer you if you turn in stuff that looks like garbage, okay? When you turn in your labs, maybe I'll do it up here. That'd be the better way. So I want to pull up a Word document and kind of give you an example of what I want this stuff to look like. So I want you to use like the headings and everything that you have here, right? So for example, we'll say this is lab 1.1, all right? And that's the lab that I'm going to be looking at. And for this, we are to identify, so it tells you the objectives, and share your lab manual if you can. Under objectives, it says identify and sketch an organization network topology, identify nodes on a real-life network, identify a network's client and network operating systems, and identify protocols used by the network, whichever ones that you can. And it says you need a piece of paper, but a piece of paper looks like crap when you turn it in. So I want to introduce you to a couple different pieces of software that are available to you. One of them is called Visio, not the TV, right? Visio you can download for free through the Academic Alliance, through the DreamSpark, all right? It was supposed to be installed on here, but I got to be honest, I don't know if it is. I don't see Visio installed on there. But the other thing that you can do is there is a nice site out there. Has anybody ever used this one? Draw.io. Draw.io is pretty nice. it even connects into your OneDrive, so on and so forth. So we'll just say we're going to save them there. Create a new diagram. And then it's going to ask, what kind of a diagram do you want? Looky there. There's a network diagram. And you can come in and you can say, gee, I think I want this really colorful looking one. And I'm going to say create. And as soon as I do that, it's, it gives me some basics, and it's going to tell me what different things are. All right? So when you're creating your diagram, you might want to use a pencil and paper first. So we would say something like, we are in 270. All right? And we want to collect some basic information. I'm not going to make you do this for the whole organization, by the way. If you're like, oh my God, do I have to do this for the whole organization like it says? No. I'm going to have you do it for our department. All right? And as a network administrator, documentation is vital for us to be able to know where different things are located. So we can make an actual diagram of the room. Right? So it kind of looks like that. And then on a separate paper or on here, we could list what the IP range is. I'm not expecting you to go around and find out what IP address is on every machine, but we need to know things like, what is the IP range, meaning what is our network, right? What is the DHCP server address? What is the DNS address? What is the gateway address? Right? Now the neat thing is, notice I haven't told you how to find it yet. Once you find it for one machine in our department, you'll find that it's the same for all of the machines in the department. All right? Then you do need to understand that we have to have a logical mapping. These are things you don't think about until somebody points it out to you. Every one of your machines is plugged in to the floor. Did you know that? Look back, push back, and you'll see there's a panel down at the bottom of every one of these quads. That's where all your power comes from, and that's where the Cat5 cable is plugged into. All right? Each one of those Cat5 ports, those are RJ45 ports, is labeled. You don't have to you don't have to go through and label them all, but I would like some generalizations. We actually have documentation for the whole building, every single port and what it goes back to. So you can actually look up here and you'll see that this says 276-1-001-002. To you, that doesn't mean anything until I tell you 276 is the server closet that houses our switches. 1, because there's a -1, means that it goes into patch panel 1 and switch 1. And then what do you think the 001 and the 002 are? Ports, right? So that's the ports. So if you go around in any room in here, they won't always say 276. They'll say something else, and that tells you where the server room is for that particular lab or that particular device, right? What's that? Yep, let's go. Come on. Just leave your stuff here real quick. It'll be fine. So what was the room number? Let's go. Can you do me a favor? Make sure nobody goes in that room for 5 minutes. You can take anything that's laying out. They won't mind. What was the room number? Oh, look, that room, 276, that you always saw and you wonder what was in here. Imagine that. So come on in. This is our server room. Some of you probably never been here. Maybe a few of you have been. So there's a line from every computer in the building that comes over these Cat 6As. All this will fall in line later. And you'll notice they all go into these big racks back here. All right? And I want everybody to walk around and kind of look at where they're at eventually. You'll see them coming into those racks. They go into the bottom, which are the patch panels. On the patch panel, there is a label which says where it comes from. So it goes back to the room in which it came from. So if we looked on patch panel 1, which is the top patch panel, it would say 270. And then it would say the different ports that are in there. And then from the patch panel, it goes up into the switches. The switches are on top in there, and the patch panels are on the bottom. You can go ahead and look around. I don't mind. We'll come back in here at a later date when we understand things more. But go ahead and look around for now. I did all of this. Yeah, no, I did all of this right here. You weren't looking at me, sorry. I did all of this with all the VMware servers. You go to the fixed drive and the shared drive that I'm having you go to, that's that little NAS unit right there, right? It has all these drives on it right here. That's the NAS unit. Yep. Kyra, show them when they come over and look, because everybody didn't see. Which one's the NAS unit? Yep. There's 12 hard drives on the inside of it. One of them is a hot spare, meaning if a hard drive blows out, the hot spare just kicks in, rebuilds itself. I can have up to 3 drives kick out on that and still be safe. Couple weeks. We'll talk about it more later when we get into like battery backups and stuff like that. Yep. All right, we'll go on back to the room. That's for our labs.
Okay, just the lab.
It's just our department for the most part.
There's another server room for like the other.
Yep. Yep. There's multiple closets. Oh yeah. There's a couple different closets throughout the building. Thank you.
No problem.
All right. So I want you to create a network map of our department as best as you can. Again, you don't have to go to every computer and figure out what's the IP address for every computer. You can figure out what is the range or what network am I on by typing in ipconfig into a console on any computer. And it'll tell you, you type a /on, it'll tell you all the stuff that you need. You will have to figure out what network you're on. You remember that computer science 1 and 2 class that you thought you never need? Right? So to find out the network, you're going to AND the IP address to the subnet. Mask. I'm going to let you figure that out. You might be able to find something on the web that'll help you out. I don't care what tools you use because we'll do that manually later. So you're going to take any IP address and you're going to AND it to the subnet mask. So that means that you need to convert it to ones and zeros. You need to have a binary string, 32 ones and zeros. You AND it together, and that will give you the network that all the computers are on. You play with it. You come in on Friday and say, is this it? And I'll tell you if that's it or not. All right? I expect for you to help one another. So if one of you get it, don't tell the other person, but maybe show or suggest the other person. Right? DHCP server DNS gateway address. And you can do that for the whole room. But then I would like for you to kind of put like different ports. You don't have to list every one of them. maybe just do it for like one room, crawl around, because realize that as a network administrator, you're going to be sitting up in your office a lot of the time getting paid really well, but there's going to be times you're going to have to crawl around on the floor. You're going to have to be carrying around heavy equipment. You're going to have to be pulling stuff, so it's a good experiment for you to be able to get down and lift up those plates and say, what's the port? What's the port number? So do that maybe for one room. But is that all that's in this room that requires an IP address? What else? You're going to actually be floored when I tell you. The what? That projector can have an IP address. What else? The mics? Cameras? Yeah, we have a wireless access point, a Aruba wireless access point. There are 2 others in here. What's that? There are 3 others in here. You got 1. There are 4 others in here. You got 2. There are 5 others in here. No, I don't know if that one, it probably is digital. There's still 2 others. That is for accessibility. The lights, not this light. That one's not, but this one is, because it has a sensor on it, and we can remotely turn everything off. And then the other one is this Extron device that's up here that enables us to be able to put everything up and down. It automatically communicates out to the projector and says turn on and turn off, right? And then we can remote into that. All right? Kind of wicked, huh? They all have an IP address. Again, now you're not going to be able to find the IP addresses out, but I need you to start thinking like that when you walk smart. It's all connected. All your ventilation, all that stuff. It's all connected. Anybody ever been in the building when it goes to sleep at night? It's kind of creepy, isn't it? You can like hear it. It starts breathing. And then a voice comes over and says, I'm coming to get you. I'm just kidding. It doesn't do that. But all the ventilation goes off, doesn't it? And some of the lights will even dim down. And when it first opened, they had it so all the lights just automatically cycled down. The instant the building closed, the lights just cycled down. Now you could go over and turn it back on, but so kind of wild, isn't it? All right. So as we make this lab, you're going to be taking screen captures of things. So I could type in IP config, and I can type in, type in CMD, IP CONF FIG /space/all, and I hit enter. And, you know, one of the things you could do as proof that you're figuring this out is you say, well, hey, look at all this good stuff. Let me take a screen capture of that. How do you take a screen capture? You can use the snipping tool, or you can press print screen. Now, here's the deal. If you hit print screen, it takes a screen capture of your entire screen, and in your case, both screens, right? You can hit, I think it's Alt, print screen, and that takes a picture of the active window, right? Alt, print screen, active window. See, now you learn like multiple things. Like, wow, I'm learning a lot. This is the tip of the iceberg, Shay. What are you going to do when we start running? Alt print screen does that. Shift print screen, I don't know, what's shift print screen do? Shift print screen did both. Just print screen, what's that do? That did both as well. So Alt print screen. By the way, Windows for the next version, apparently they're doing some more with the clipboard, which should be pretty cool, some more powerful tools for the clipboard. But one of the things we need to do, so we have lab 1, we need to tell the reader, me, what this is. So you come in and you right click and you say insert caption, and you say figure 1, IP IP, COA, and FIG results. And you need to make sure that it's clear. You need to make sure that I can read that. And then underneath of that, you can say, in figure 1, we can see that the labs have a network ID of, I'll give you a hint, it's 10.20.something, right? And you can even spell this out. You could say have network ID, right? And then you could say subnet. And then you could say, what else do I need? DHCP. And I need gateway. In this case, gateways. There's multiple gateways. And DNS. Right? And we list that in there. Right? And then you build it that way. You take and you make a nice map of things. And what you can do is you can have multiple maps. I don't expect you to map every room. Let's do one room completely and thoroughly, and then have a bigger map that just shows 271, 270, 277, 279, whatever you can get into in the department, investigate, right? One big map and then one map of just one room. Because I don't want you to do busy work. I just want you to kind of go through the motions and realize that during an internship, that's a great project for an intern, is to take a week. And I say a week. It'd take a while to go through an entire building on a campus and document and verify the campus or the building, right? The neat thing about that is if you ever do something like that, you get access to places that most people don't, right? Because you need to go in, you need to verify all that stuff. It's a very important thing for network administrators to do, and oftentimes they neglect it, right? Questions? Yep.
So, for all the labs, we have to find the IP address?
No, not always.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for those that we do have to find it for, do you want us to get accustomed to finding the network ID, the subnet, and putting it all
It's always a good idea to have that in your mind of what's what. And trust me, once we get really plowing into the labs, 192.168.54 dot something is what it always is. That's what they use in the lab. And that's what we will use. All right? So you'll get used to that. But I do want you to become accustomed to kind of being aware of what network am I setting on? Because it really begins to narrow things down. And that's experience. This is all experience. Doesn't have to do with knowledge. It's just experience. Right? It just takes time to get to that level. So I want everything to be scholarly and professional. Right? So if you pull in help, you need to put a little blurb there that says, I got help from this YouTube video from this 5-year-old kid that showed me what to do. If he sounds like he's 10, he's probably 5. He's probably my son. You think I'm kidding, right? So, as you go through, I want you to do that. I want you to get in the habit. I'm probably going to crush you on the first couple labs. I'm going to give you a tremendous amount of feedback. And then what will happen is I won't take a lot of points. Right? So, as time moves, though, I'm going to get harder and harder and harder and harder on you, and your points are going to go down, 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 unless you start fixing what you're supposed to fix, right? Take under advisement the things that I'm asking you to do, all right? And trust me, it makes you look much more professional and gives you things to work about. And it gives you things to reflect back on later on down the road. For example, when you have to implement your own network at the end of the semester, and you're like, how do I set up a domain? It's been like 5 weeks since I did that, and I only did it 3 times. I only screwed it up 3 times. I don't remember how to do that. Oh, I bet I got that documented really well. So you go back. And by the way, you can put as many extra notes in there to yourself if you want, right? but you always have to put enough information to be able to convey that you have demonstrated competency on that particular lab. Does that make sense? You put as many extra notes in as you want. Because I'd love for you to have this as like a nice notebook at the end of this. All right? So that's what you're going to do. Oh, by the way, make sure your name and things of that nature are in the document. And you're going to turn in one document for each overall lab chapter. So if you have lab 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, and 1.5, those can all go on the same document. But then please, since we're using headings, use the table of contents. You know how that works, right? So you keep saying, for those of you that don't, right? So I say lab 1.2, I make that a heading, right? And then I keep on coming. I say lab 1.3, make that a heading. And then way back here, I come over to insert, and I say insert table of contents. Yes, it is. Thank you. Table of contents. There it is. Poof, there it is. In the wrong place, but you get it. There it is. Automatically generates it for us. Oh, I know what happened. I had that highlighter. I was like, what happened at 1.3? I'll come in here, and I'll put table of contents. There it is. Put it on its own page. And by the way, it automatically updates. So if you're like, oh, this is about blah, and you can come up here and you can refresh and say update entire table. Boom. Look at that. Look at all the things you're learning today. Man. All right. So this is the last bits that I have for you for the day. So you're going to start working on that 1.1. Installing a virtual client image. Oh, man, you've pretty much already done that. Now you need to go through and you need to document it. You still need to go through and document it. You have all that in your notes for 1.2. 1.3, we'll try to build a simple peer-to-peer network maybe on Friday if we have enough time after our presentations. And then maybe on Monday, we'll build a simple client-server network, maybe get into that a little bit. And then we'll have a look at 1.5. And some of these you can do on your own. Installing a network printer, we can play with that a little bit as well, right? Even though I'm still doing a lot of stuff in the classroom, I promise you there's plenty of work you need to be doing outside, all right? Outside of the reading, doing the homework, flashcards, so on and so forth, you're still going to have to do some of these. You good? Okay. You good? You sure? Don't pester her. She's busy taking notes. You are too, right? Questions?
For the network diagram.
Yeah.
I noticed something there too about like doing one like with the topology and doing the switches and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how do we go into like the server room that to be able to do that?
I just took you in.
Okay, so we can just.
That's fine. You're not going to, you do the best you can right now, realizing that these tie into patch panels tie into switches.
Okay.
Our switches tie into core switches, our core switches tie into edge routers, our edge routers tie into MD-RAN. MD-RAN ties and goes through USM down in Adelphia, Maryland, and then we go on out into the internet. You can do a trace route and check all that out if you want. See, that's why you can stop at the network closet.
Okay.
You can stop at the network closet. Okay? Other questions?
Yeah, so you want us to complete all the activities in the...
Yeah, you're ultimately going to complete all the activities. Yep.
There's review questions in the lab. Do they go into this thing as well? Or?
There will be times where I'll explicitly say just do the review questions.
Okay.
If I don't say that, you can do them on your own. They're good to do on your own. Okay. All right. So here's the next thing that I wanted to show you. So we have everything imported in, and we call these base. Do not start them up. All right? You know how long it took to import those in. we're going to make clones of those, right? So let's make a couple of clones right now, and it'll make sense what I call them. So I'm going to right-click, and I'm going to say Manage, Clone. And I know I did this the other day, but I'm still going to walk through. I'm going to do a linked clone. I'm going to call this one Workstation 1. Anybody know why I'm going to call it Workstation 1? Because that's what it's called in here, right? I'm going to call it Workstation 1. I want to say Finish. Then I want to clone that Windows 7 again. What do you think I want to call it? This one. Yep, Workstation 2. Now we always have that clean base there. And then I'm going to clone my Windows Server 2012. And I want to call that Server 1. We only need one server right now. Eventually we'll get another server. Yes.
Windows 7 base is named Workstation 1,
And then do another one called 2. Yep.
okay, for the same.
Yeah, you'll do it off the same base. I'm going to call mine with server 1. Say server space 1. How about that? Ooh. Okay. Yes, question. We'll delete some stuff off there. I can delete some stuff off there. Yeah, you may be running out a little bit of space because I did not wipe the solid states over the break as I should have. Usually I wipe them out. So we can delete some stuff off of there. What are you going to do? You did do the import or did not? Oh, okay. Well, I'm recording everything, so you can check that out. But in case this is too quick, but what you do is you just bring it down, and then you're going to double-click on that OVF file, and that'll start your import. And just make sure you call it like Windows 7 base and Windows 2012 base. And then now watch what happens when I start up my workstations. Now I have a nice, fresh, clean install of each one of these. I need a new workstation, trash workstation. I just delete it, right-click on base, create linked clone, boom, I'm up and running, right? Maybe I want to name it Workstation 1.1. So Workstation 1 for Lab 1, Workstation 1.2, Workstation 1 for Lab 2. Then I can kind of go down that way if I wish to do that. It's up to you. I'm giving you the tools to organize your world however you want. Okay? Now, the other thing that I think I'm running out of time on is one last pretty cool piece of software called BG Info. So once we get up and running, no matter how careful we are in labeling things, we're going to have a tendency to get lost, especially when you have like 5 or 6 machines up and running at the same time, even with the tabs, and you spread it across 2 monitors and the whole 9 yards. So there's a little file out there called BG Info that we can download, and I'll show you how it works. And we can make that run every single time we load up our Windows environment, and it will list for us the IP address, the subnet, the DNS server, the gateway, anything we want, what the operating system is, what the name of the system is, all the stuff it'll label for us. And it'll embed it, BG, background, it embeds it into the background so that it's there for us. as an administrator, it is a great piece of software, because the last thing you want is to be on a server that you know is the right server to make those changes, and you make them, and you apply them, and then you get 50 emails saying, how come I can't connect to this service? Oh, shit. Right? So any way we can keep ourselves organized, because right now, I'm making it sound overwhelming that you're only dealing with 5 or 7 computers, right? In here. What are you going to do when you have 160 servers to overview and 5,000 machines to worry about, along with all your core switches and all of your edge switches and all of your core routers? You see what I'm saying? So the more organized we can be, and that's why I'm harping on that. Even if you're disorganized, you got to find a way to be organized with this stuff, right? Because you don't want to make that misstep when you're applying a configuration or something. All right? Questions? I do not. You know what I'll do is I'll work on that tomorrow. I'll put that on my to-do list. I have a document that you have to sign. I'll have those ready for you on Friday. On it, you need your ID, and I'm going to need the proxy number that's on the back of that ID, okay? We're going to need that proxy number, and we'll get that taken care of. You'll be good by like Monday or Tuesday of next week. And that'll give you access to getting into the building, okay? You'll be able to get access into the building and into this room. And then you want to keep that letter with you as well. All right? 24/7, every single day of the week.
When you said we were making a clone, you said you make a linked clone and not a free clone?
I like the linked clones because it eats up hard drive space otherwise.
Okay.
Question? Okay. Okay. And that happens. You need to remember, you've heard me say this before, we are not consumers anymore, right? We are now problem solvers. We are now architects. We are now developers, right? And with that comes all kinds of problems. That's what we do. That's what you're going to get paid, $50, $60, $70, $80, $90, $100,000 a year when you're 5, 6, 7 years out. That's what you're getting paid for, is to solve problems day in and day out. So what you need to do, because I am going to frustrate you. Well, I'm not going to. The material is going to frustrate you. Practice understanding how you're going to deal with that frustration, right? For me, I leave. I'm like, okay, that's it. Like literally, I'll just be like, oh, that's it. I'm done. My kids are like, why, Dad? We're that close to solving World 7. I'm like, no, I'm done. And my hand hurts. I'm old, right? I also bike ride, ski outside. So you need to understand what you're going to do to mitigate your level of frustration. And if you're like one of those people, well, I don't really get frustrated, that's great. And those people are out there. They're just like cool and calm and collected. And they'll be like, yeah, no problem, all right? But for those of us, which is the majority of us, that do get frustrated, you need to learn how to mitigate that. And I'm happy to explore that with you too. And I understand you're going to get frustrated. I get that. It's perfectly fine. It's perfectly normal. And I have no problems with you say, "Fuck it," and walking out the door for 5 minutes, right? Because that's going to happen too. All right? I'm never sure if you're zoning out or paying attention. You have that just that right look. All right, I'll see y'all. You come on in. We're done. Did I teach you about the pause button? Did you know you can pause your machines? You don't have to shut them down every time. It'll pause the state of your machine. Isn't that cool? That's wicked, isn't it? Well, you can. That's actually Hibernate. You can actually do that on this. But in your VMware, you just click pause on the machine, and it'll just pause it for you.